Well, welcome to another Runnin Rebel or Rebel Caravan event. This one focused on the Runnin Rebels. I'm John Sandler, and it's great to be with you as we unofficially get the Runnin Rebel season underway of sorts this afternoon, and give everyone a chance to say hello and meet face to face, get to know a little bit about Coach Kevin Kruger and his staff and their thoughts on the upcoming season, because there have been a lot of changes, obviously, since the last time we had a chance to speak with you, and a lot of excitement, a lot of new faces, both on the staff and in the program, and we'll get to that. And a buzz about the Runnin Rebel program that we haven't felt it in a while. And I think it's safe to say, and it's fair to say, that a lot of that buzz comes from the fact that there's a Kruger sitting in that chair again, and it is great to welcome all of you as the Runnin Rebel staff convenes here on this Rebel Caravan call. But certainly let's start with head coach Kevin Kruger. And Kevin, I've had a chance to do it unofficially, but officially, let me welcome you on behalf of Runnin Rebel Nation. Congratulations. We are so excited and so thrilled to have you at the helm of the Runnin Rebel program.
Well, thanks, John. Appreciate it. And as you know, incredibly excited and to get going and get everybody here and get going in the summer and get started.
You know, you say get going, and it's been, I mean, we're still dealing with the effects of the pandemic last year. I know you and I talked about it a lot during the season. It was one of the strangest and most disjointed years either one of us had ever participated in involving college basketball. Let's start with this. How are you and the staff kind of moving through what we hope are the sort of latter stages of the impacts of the pandemic?
Yeah, I think the one thing we kind of got a little used to it, I think, as coaches in terms of not being, when everything's just kind of cut off. You're not allowed to go recruit. You're not allowed to do anything but Zoom calls and phone calls. And then now we're kind of embracing and getting ready for life to go back to normal in terms of a similar recruiting calendar to what we had before. And so we're starting to map out dates of getting out on the road and seeing events and names of teams and high school players that we want to go see. And it's definitely exciting and creates a little bit of anxiety, because you always want to make sure you get everywhere you want to get to. And with the dates kind of going back to normal, just in the sense of June 1 with the recruiting calendar picking back up, there would kind of become a little bit of a just a routine of coming into the office and talking about what you're going to do and making phone calls and setting up Zooms. And that was kind of the extent of the recruiting. And now again in June, we're going to be able to get back out there and travel a little bit and see some people, and hopefully, as much as anything, have unofficial visits taking place. And so it hasn't changed what we do. It's just kind of gone back to what we're kind of all being used to being able to do and how we're doing it.
When you were first offered the job, that moment when that offer was made by Director of Athletics Desiree Reed-Francois, what was the first thing that went through your mind?
I was actually on my way to Target. We needed
as a new father often is.
Yeah, we needed to grab a few things for Cammie, and so I called Allie, and she, I ended up not going to Target, but my first thought was actually, making sure we get what we needed to get for Cammie, because that obviously, as we all know as fathers, that takes precedence over anything and everything. But went home and talked to her, and really there aren't words. I know it's a cliche that's thrown around a lot, but it was a sense of excitement, but again, anxiety. Just you want to tackle everything at once, and everything you talked about as an assistant that you wanted to do, it was now real. And organizing and figuring out what you want to do and all of that, just being told by everybody that I had talked to immediately after to take a deep breath and get your feet back underneath you and go from there. But again, it couldn't be excited, because as we've talked about, Vegas is home, the Unlv program is home, and just a level of excitement to enjoy it, there with Allie and Cammie, and really just take a deep breath and go from there.
I know your dad, when he was here, ran a program that was all about family, and I know that you will do the same. And Allie and Cammie, I'm sure, were a big part of that decision. I'm sure they were just as excited.
No, absolutely, and then immediately, the focus turned to the players and staff, and I think going forward, as you mentioned, growing up in the Kruger household, with family and the team and the staff and the university being such a integral part of life, the focus was putting together, a group of guys that I think that we've done that have those same characteristics, those same pillars of life, where they're all incredibly competitive. If you know them, if you haven't met them, as we're about to kind of get into everybody on staff, but at the same time, caring about the family and the players, and putting the team and the guys first is something that we all do, and that we share in common. But at the end of the day, the UNLV name and the team is as important as anything.
As we have a little bit of time before we get into kind of nuts and bolts of the season, I thought it would be informative and interesting for the fans to get your vision at that 10,000 foot level for the program, and then we'll get into your vision as you put the staff together and segue into meeting each of these fine gentlemen. But let's start with sort of that very high level view of the Runnin Rebel program.
Yeah, well, I think first and foremost, our goal, if you're not familiar, Coach Buckley stayed on, and Deshaun from the previous staff, when we would talk and we would meet, and as the recruiting kind of was going and the portal was going and everything was kind of crossing paths at the same time, we just really felt that the guys we wanted to talk to and the guys we wanted to add to the roster were guys that were easy to root for and incredibly competitive with a high motor. Because it kind of all just organically came together, but embracing the approach and the mentality of the city. Las Vegas has always kind of had that fighter's mentality, that boxer's mentality of just competing and feeling slighted and an edge on and a chip on their shoulder. And, again, with Will Saxon, Brandon Chappelle, Carlin Hartman joining, all having kind of a like-minded approach and really just enjoying getting around guys and just competitive people, and we have fun. We're gonna have fun, but when we get on the court and there's other people relying on you, that kind of that killer instinct and that killer mentality, needs to come out. And I think it does in the staff, in how we approach things, in getting things done, accomplishing tasks and things we want to do to improve the program, but also and most importantly, the student athletes that we're bringing in, just having a chip on their shoulder, having a little bit of an edge to where when things get competitive and things get, fiery, those are the guys you want to be in the foxhole with. And again, it kind of it happened naturally and organically with the guys that we were talking to and the student athletes that are coming in. But we're really excited and happy about how this roster is coming together with people that are just incredibly competitive. And whether or not they're wearing a UNLV on their chest or they're just playing pickup ball in the gym, they're going to play hard and they're going to compete and get after it. But again, at the end of the day, there's got to be a blend between that and winning. And everybody that we've talked to, the research, a lot of the guys that were transferring in, we recruited in one form or fashion out of high school. So there is a little bit of a long-standing relationship there. A little bit of a base to where we understand them. We knew them in high school, watched them play quite a bit, and but none of them are having the mentality where, I'm just here to get to the NBA. They have an understanding and an agreement of knowing that it's our job to win games, and winning games helps them get to the NBA. I think that's one of the things we've been able to do in the portal with a little bit older, some more mature guys that have kind of been through the wars, if you will, and have kind of seen things from a different lens with having a different stop here and before their college career ends, but fully understanding that winning does nothing but help everybody.
That's great. Before we get to the staff, I just want to remind everyone, stay tuned to the end of this webcast. We will be giving away some terrific Runnin Rebel prizes, including a UNLV backpack, a signed pair of Nike Runnin Rebel shoes, and a signed authentic Runnin Rebel jersey, both signed by head coach Kevin Kruger. Kev, last question for you. The philosophy you had putting this staff together as we move into meeting these gentlemen, what were you looking for? I'm sure you, like a lot of assistant coaches who have aspirations of becoming a head coach, had a list in your mind of the guys you've met or guys you've heard of who you wanted to bring together on a staff. But what was the basic philosophy you had when you put this staff together?
I think just, nobody on the staff is that I didn't have a prior relationship with in some form or fashion. So there's a level of trust of knowing each other, having worked with Coach Chappelle at Northern Arizona, Coach Hartman at Oklahoma, Will at Oklahoma, and then the last few years with Deshaun and Buck as well, but also knowing that everybody would blend together. I think that's one thing that, even going back to your playing days, everybody remembers, you knew if coaches didn't like each other and if there was some tension there. And so kind of forming our own team in the offices every day, to know that, again, the top priority is winning, having the guys have the best experience they can possibly have, and truly just having a group of people that cared about the guys and UNLV. And I think that's what we've done.
We've got a question from one of our participants about the schedule. We'll get to that when we get to Deshaun, because that's his world. But a question about what do season ticket holders from this past season, what are their obligations? And if you paid for your 2021 season tickets, your tickets basically roll over into the next season. If you haven't renewed, you can renew at last year's price until June 30th. So keep that in mind, Dale. Let's get to this staff, because I know, Kevin, you're excited and we are all excited. We're going to start with a new member of the staff, Coach Hartman, Coach Carlin Hartman, who comes to the Runnin Rebel program from Norman, Oklahoma, but originally from Buffalo, New York. And Coach Hartman, welcome. I checked the weather. It's 44 and raining in Buffalo. So just wanted to put a smile on your face for you right there. But give us a quick introduction. Give us a quick bio, if you will, of your path that brought you to UNLV.
Yeah, well, thank you, John, for having me, and thank you for putting this event on. I'm originally from Buffalo, New York, as John mentioned. My coaching stops have been, this is going to be entering year number 22. I've been starting out at Rice University back in 1997, and from there, McNeese State, back to Rice, Louisiana Lafayette, University of Richmond for 4 years, James Madison, also Columbia University, back to Rice for 4, and then the last 5 years prior to this, my employment here at UNLV was with Coach Kruger, Kevin's dad, at the University of Oklahoma, and very fortunate to be here and to work alongside Kevin and the rest of these fine gentlemen. So really excited to be here.
What was it about Kevin or Las Vegas or the UNLV Runnin Rebel program that brought you here? What are some of the things that stood out where you said, okay, I'm going to move my family and come out to Las Vegas?
Yeah, Kevin and I talked, even after he got the job, just to congratulate him, on this opportunity. And then once Coach announced that he was going to retire, had about a 48-hour period where these guys kind of joke about it, where I was in the coaching portal. So I was just trying to figure out what was best for not just myself, but obviously my family. I have a 14-year-old son who's, obviously extremely important to me. And a place like Las Vegas has so many different options, in terms of, being able to raise him for these next 5 years before he moves on to college. But the number one thing, for me was obviously my relationship with Kevin. The 3 years that we spent at Oklahoma, got a chance to get to know him, a very trustworthy human being, somebody who cares about the game. And also I got to hear firsthand stories about his time here at UNLV and how much he loved it. He was born in McAllen, Texas, but he always called Las Vegas home. And I think that was something that really resonated with me, after, we had our initial conversation. Obviously, the other thing too is, my relationship with his dad, Coach Kruger, who took a chance on someone that he didn't know previous to when he hired me, but got a chance to get to know me through some people that he trusted and knew of in his tenure at Oklahoma and various other places. So my relationship with the Kruger family, that meant a lot to me in terms of coming here. And I think the other thing too is just being able to have an opportunity to restore, the prominence of this fantastic and historic program. Obviously Kevin was a part of an era of UNLV basketball that, people will still remember to this day. And in his lone year here, the 30-win season, the Sweet 16, him winning Mountain West tournament MVP, and just seeing the excitement of the fans. Even just yesterday, having an opportunity to watch him and Curtis, talk on the interview yesterday, just to see the pride in Curtis's face, to reignite with his friend, and as now a head coach at UNLV. All those things, came together, and this was an easy decision, for me, especially, when it came down to talk to my wife about it, and just so thrilled to be here and have an opportunity to get this program back to where it was.
Well, I think everyone is very excited to have you here. You bring a reputation as a tremendous recruiter and an outstanding reputation in that aspect, in addition to the X's and O's and the management of things, the inner workings of a program. Let's talk in general first about recruiting. What are the keys to being successful as a recruiter? What are keys to having that process work out? Because, things are changing.
Yeah, I think one thing is just being very genuine as an individual, and also having a product in which you believe in, which is UNLV and Kevin, and also just being very transparent with kids. I mean, a lot of times, and Coach Buckley and we all talk about it all the time. A lot of times kids, want to hear what they want to hear, and sometimes, when you have individuals in which you can have conversations with that are very transparent, and if they accept that, sometimes it could be certain criticisms or whatever, and self-improvement, what you need to work on and so forth. If they can accept those things, they're probably going to be the right fit for your program. I think the other thing is, getting guys that have great attitudes, great work ethic, and guys that want to be here in our program at UNLV. And those are the kind of guys in which Kevin mentioned earlier that are going to fit our culture, going to fit our style of play, and going to fit what we're trying to promote here within our program. So it makes it easier to come to work when you have fountains, not drains, in your program. Guys that are willing to be coached and guys that are willing to be pushed on a daily basis. And we have the staff in order to do so. And I think every single day they're going to look at their head coach, not just as a leader for them and a servant leader for them, but also somebody who has been a student athlete here at this university and has seen it firsthand, and how to be able to get our program back to the top of the mountain. No pun intended with our league, but that's I think the best thing about what we can sell to the kids is your head coach has been there and he's done that, and having those characteristics and the guys in which we look for is very valuable. What
is special? What is different about recruiting at UNLV? Because you talk about Las Vegas, it's unique. There's no question. There is no other place like it. It is unique in a whole variety of ways, and that uniqueness carries through to various aspects of life here, good and bad. It also makes the university unique. It also makes this men's basketball program unique. What is unique about this city, this program, that impacts recruiting either direction?
I think the biggest thing that's unique is, I think at its core, this is a basketball town and this is a basketball city. Before the Golden Knights came, before the Raiders came, this was a basketball city. UNLV basketball was, everything, to the community. And I know there's a section of people that obviously that are my age, Coach Buckley's age, Coach Henry's age, that remembers, the Tarkanian era. And their fathers and their uncles and aunts and mothers, remember all those great times. And so I think, if we can get that brand of, style and play and level of success back to go along with what Coach Kruger had in his 7-year tenure, I think then we can sell, their sons on, how special a place this can be. And I think we've been able to do that. I think we'll be able to get kids from, the quote unquote Power 5 leagues, like we did over the past 5 weeks of the 4 kids that we signed from the Big 12. But we'll also be able to get what you would consider, kids from, say, the Big West or the Southland Conference and even the MAC to be able to join us. And those kids that have had, success in those levels to be able to, for them to say, they've moved up to, play in our league. So I think we'll be able to balance, those types of those young men. And it's just so much to sell here, between obviously the landscape of Las Vegas, being a preeminent program on the West Coast. And, I think the last thing that, I remember when I was growing up, this was almost like a mystical program. Growing up in upstate New York, to see Las Vegas, UNLV on TV on those big Mondays, playing against, UC Santa Barbara and the Gauchos, and those teams of Larry Johnson and Stacey Augmon. I stayed up until 11 o'clock at night, to just catch the first half of a game before I had to get up and go to school the next day. But those Mondays were special, and I know it meant a lot to the people around this campus and this community, to have the center stage. This was Gonzaga before Gonzaga has done what they did. UNLV basketball was obviously unbelievable, and obviously Coach Lon took it to the same levels, and Kevin and our staff were going to do the same thing.
Yeah, those big Mondays were fun, except when it was a 10 p.m. tip in Salt Lake. But hopefully we won't have to deal with that. But Coach Hartman, appreciate those sentiments. I think every Runnin Rebel fan echoes and hears you and takes it to heart. And everybody's got their fingers crossed and hoping that those sentiments turn into reality sooner rather than later. I want to remind everybody that if you like what you're hearing and you're excited about the upcoming season and you don't have your season tickets yet, they are on sale right now. You can go to unlvtickets.com, or you can call 739-FANS, 702-739-FANS. Get your season tickets. Get your seats now, because if you wait a few years, you might not be able to get the pick of the litter, if you will, in terms of location. I have a feeling things are going to catch fire, and as Kevin and I both know, because we saw it happen, it doesn't take much to spark a big blaze in terms of the passion and fanaticism of Runnin Rebel fans. And so get your season tickets while you can. Coach Hartman, appreciate it. We're going to turn our attention to, I feel like I'm on Hollywood Squares. I'm dating myself, I know, but we'll go to the middle square on the right side for Coach Buckley, who is enjoying a lovely afternoon al fresco, evidently, wind in the hair notwithstanding. But Buck, it's great to see you. And personally, I am so excited for you to be back. Enjoyed our time together the last couple of years. And from your standpoint, in terms of, and you're going to have to unmute yourself here in a sec, but in terms of some sort of continuity, in addition to Kevin, in addition to Deshaun, bringing some sort of continuity from the past few years, regardless of the roster makeup, how important is that?
I think it's beneficial in that we kind of know each other and we can play off of each other. And, the one thing we had the opportunity to do with Coach Otzelberger was he allowed us to coach and he allowed us to show our personality. And I think we kind of know what Coach Kruger is going to expect or what he's going to want in a certain situation. And therefore, maybe we can respond to it or react to it before it gets to him, but then also to go to him on certain things where we're not sure of. And I think the familiarity with each other that way is important.
You bring a unique attribute in this group in terms of you're the lone member of this staff who has previous head coaching experience. And I know that Kevin is going to look forward to leveraging that and taking advantage of that in some ways. But give us your thoughts on what that means to the program and how you expect to work not only with the other members of the staff, but with Kevin as he grows into that role.
Well, first of all, he doesn't need any help in being a head coach because this is going to be a smooth transition. He played at a high level. He was an assistant coach at a high level. He grew up in the house of one of the best to ever do what we do. And I think people learn more from a lesson they can see. And he saw that every day of his life. And that's the best kind of tutoring that you can get. And having been a head coach, I think what I'm able to provide is what doesn't need to get to him. What can we take care of before he has to handle it? Because the biggest thing for coach is going to be administrative things that he hasn't had to do before or make the decisions on. It won't have anything to do with basketball. And I think even when you're in this business, as long as I've been in it, after a game, you're going to question, should I have taken a timeout? Should I have made that substitution? What could we have done better schematically going into that game? And, that's just ever evolving as we go. So I just think that he's far and away very prepared for this. And I think being a former head coach, you at least know, having sat in that chair, what's a good suggestion? What's one you probably shouldn't make? And then also after you leave the meeting room, everybody's on the same page. It doesn't matter. As long as you were able to voice your opinion, he's the one who ultimately has to make that decision. And then we go from there and we're all united when we do it.
That sounds terrific. Quickly, I want to announce our first prize winner of the day. Stephen Good has won our UNLV Nike backpack, and you'll hear from UNLV Sports Marketing on how to pick it up. But congratulations to Stephen. You've won the UNLV Nike backpack. We still have the autographed shoes, Nike shoes, and the autographed Runnin Rebel jersey to give away before the end of our program. Buck, you stuck around. Not a heck of a lot else remains from last year's roster. And obviously that was a combination of coaching decisions and player decisions. But what are your thoughts on the turnover in general? And is this kind of the new normal that we're going to see from year to year in college basketball, given the change in the rules?
Well, I would definitely say it is a new day and time. Partings are amicable, John. It's one of those things where you sit down and you talk, and some of it has to do with roles. Some of it has to do with what they think it should be. Some of it's just they need a new setting. Some of it is they have to move on, and there's protection, and you don't put those things out in the media, and so it's different in that regard. I think the other thing is we are in a microwave and Google society in every way, not just basketball. You can get it right now. I used to have to go use the Dewey Decimal System at the library. Now I can just Google and I get the answer that I want. And I think it's really hard to be firmly planted where you are. And I'm really trying to understand the pressures that these young guys go through today with social media, with trying to be a pro. There's a lot of misinformation out there about what it takes to be a pro. I think young people need to understand it's okay to fail as long as you learn from it. It's not an indictment on you, and then you improve and get better. And so I think it's just a different day and time in that regard. And I think everybody's got to be patient with it. And I think they have to understand that a lot of it is very amicable in the way that it's discussed. And, you want the best fit for that young man so that he can continue to grow and develop. And you hope to present everything to him so that 10 years from now, he doesn't come back and say, I wish I would have listened to you guys. I think you guys were right. So that's the approach we try to take every day, is just being consistent with them, telling them the truth, and then hopefully they respect that and they, feel that that's a part of their development, not only on the court, but off the court as well.
That's a great point. We live in a city that is the epicenter of immediate gratification. You described that Google and microwave world, as you put it. That's what it's all about. It's I'm starting my college career, and I want to start and I want to have the ball in my hands, 41 minutes a game, and take every shot, and et cetera, et cetera. And it's a challenge. And now that the kids have more freedom, how much of I guess management of that kind of psyche and that kind of mentality that is unavoidable in these days, how much of that kind of personality management goes into what you guys all do on a day-to-day basis with these kids?
Well, I think you have to just keep building those relationships. And I also know that the best teams that I've ever been a part of, everyone accepted each other for who they were. They didn't try to make them be something else or dislike them because they were the way they were. you just accepted each other and you spent more time with each other to just try to understand what you were all about and what they were all about. I think one of the things that we've done really well here, it was a little more difficult this year just because of COVID, but we go have meals with our guys in the afternoon, late afternoon, evening, and they get to know us as real people. We're not just basketball coaches, and they understand what we're all about. And I think that's a very important thing going forward with these guys, in getting them to understand you always have their best interests at heart.
Given the fact that it is kind of the new normal, and I've said this to Kevin earlier in this offseason, the Runnin Rebels have done more in the transfer portal, I think, than any program, certainly that I'm aware of. Does it add to your excitement about being able to kind of, for lack of a better term, start over with a group that has some experience and has some idea of what they're getting into?
Well, when you say experience too, it's winning experience. And that was pretty important to us. Or it was an accomplishment, like somebody like David Mwaka, who was the defensive player of the year. That shows unselfishness. And so I think that's what you're trying to put together and build. And I don't recall taking anybody that had to have the ball in their hands or had to get 15 shots a game or any of that kind of stuff, because I know Coach has really been preaching this since we got here. We're going to defend, we're going to share the ball, but we're also going to play freely on the offensive end. And the other thing, I always felt it from him when we were assistant coaches together, and I feel it from him now as a head coach. Our players are going to feel the passion that he had to wear a UNLV jersey. And we really want the guys who come here to play for UNLV, not at UNLV.
That's really, really well put. And I'll tell you, I mean, it's I think it's epitomized in Kevin, but Curtis is the same way on the air. I mean, he gets angry when he sees guys who don't play for UNLV. You get the sense they're playing at UNLV. I think that's incredibly well put. So hopefully he won't get up and walk around and storm off during the broadcast, as often because he gets frustrated. I'm just teasing. But it's great to have you back. We look forward to working with you for another season and many more. And thank you for all of your contributions. Let's move to another new member of the staff, the youngest member of the staff, I do believe, the pride of Beaumont, Texas, if you will, Brandon Chappelle, who, as he said, began or got to know Kevin at Northern Arizona. Is that correct, Brandon?
Yes, that's correct. Had a chance to meet him at NAU, and it's funny coming from Texas, like you said, Beaumont, Texas. We hang our hat on bringing a certain type of heat and having a certain type of heat in Texas, but I'm learning quick, and I've learned over the years, man, Vegas heat is a different heat.
Yeah, it's that 4% humidity is something you got to get used to, but you get used to it quickly, and frankly, I'll take that over Florida, Louisiana, whatever you want down there. And Carlin knows all about that stuff too. This isn't too bad once your blood thins out a little bit. You'll be all right.
Oh no. I can take the dry heat. It's different in Texas though. But yeah, had a chance to meet Coach Kruger, Coach Metcalf at NAU, and it's funny because we was coming in. He was coming off of being a graduate assistant at Oklahoma, and it was my first time being a GA at the Division I level, and so I kind of just shadowed him and got with him and just listened to his experience as a GA, and we just kind of built a relationship that way. And it helped also that we came out the same time. We were both redshirted and was graduate transfers. I ended up staying at Lamar, and we just had a lot of similarities as far as basketball, and it just kind of linked us on the court and then off the court. Spending time in Flagstaff and Coach Buckley and Coach Hartman mentioned the passion that Kruger has for Vegas. There were times we would finish practice at NAU and we would drive up, a 3-hour trip. We would catch a game, and we always talked about Vegas, and we'll go right back 3 more hours back to Flagstaff, and just that passion. And Coach Hartman mentioned he's from Texas. If you ask me, I would say he's from Vegas, just because that's all I heard. That's just the stories and being so close to it at Flagstaff. So, and that was able to carry on.
we'll let the fact that you made it from Flagstaff to Vegas in 3 hours or less, we'll just kind of let that go by. I'm not sure who was driving, but that's pretty impressive. Brandon, you got a chance to come to UNLV. You mentioned you were at Lamar, and Lamar's a terrific program, done great stuff in the Southland Conference. But you come to UNLV. What are your thoughts as you enter this new stage in your coaching career, and what do you anticipate your role to be on this staff?
Yeah, just kind of similar to Kevin, where I played at Lamar and I was from there, and so coaching there for 4 years, just the passion and everything that it meant to me there. So I know it means the same to Kevin, and looking forward to working hard for that. But just as far as my role, just for one, learning from Coach Hartman and Coach Buckley, two guys that have been in this business and been very successful and excited to come here and do things, learning from those guys, but then also just to bring energy and passion and build those relationships. Kevin mentioned earlier that, this staff has been formed and these players that we're bringing in has been formed on relationships. And that's the foremost, most important thing for me. And really having that role, bridging that gap and being there with the guys and like I said, just kind of learning from these men that I'm working with.
Real quickly, want to announce that Drew Levy has won the signed Nike basketball shoes signed by head coach Kevin Kruger. Congratulations, Drew, and you'll hear from the sports marketing department on how to pick those up. Brandon, last question for you. As you entered this role, what do you think your strengths are as a coach?
I'm not sure if it's a strength, but what I just love to do is just spending time with the guys additional outside of practice and building those relationships. One thing for sure, and Kevin has always talked about this, but also diving into the community here. It's so many alumni and the fan base here at UNLV is so high, and being able just to jump into that community, whether it's the high school coaches, alumni, people here, and even working for one with Kevin, and then like Coach Hartman mentioned earlier, just Curtis and people like that are still involved, building those relationships. And again, I'm energy and relationship based. I love doing that. I hope it's my strength, but that's something I'm really excited to do.
And I want to go back to Kevin for just a second, as we've heard from Brandon and Buck and Carl, and we'll hear from Deshaun and Will in just a second. But Kevin, it's not just all about basketball with these guys, right? I mean, Brandon talks about spending time with the guys off the court and developing those relationships. I know it's one of Deshaun's specialties too. This is about helping these guys become terrific young men and preparing them for the future on and off the court.
No, absolutely. I think everybody that's here is invested into the guys, and having played in college, they understand what it's like to go through, and when they're having a bad day, they're going to be able to look at us as an entire staff and know that what we're saying comes from a place of experience and care and understanding what they're going through, and that it's important. It's important, but at the end of the day, it's about helping them have the best experience, because when we all sit around and we start talking around the office, a lot of the stories end up getting back to our times in college and playing and doing that. So it's just a reminder of how special this time can be, and I think we'd all, without sacrificing where we're at today, I think we'd all go back and relive those college days if we could, and playing and being around the team and the bus trips and the flights and the team meals. So it's just kind of something we enjoy doing, but it's also a part of college.
Brandon, thank you, Kevin. Thank you so much. Coach Chappelle, we're really excited to have you here. Your passion and energy are going to be a tremendous asset to this program. Welcome to Las Vegas, and we look forward to working with you as the season moves along.
Absolutely. Appreciate you doing this.
We'll move to the Dobo. And that can either sound really good or really bad. I'm going to go really good, like some sort of mythic, guru type thing. Deshaun Henry, so great to have you back as well, both personally and professionally. I've enjoyed building our relationship and our friendship over the last couple of years. And I know the reason you are here, I'll I'll say it right now, is because of the fantastic job you do in all the different ways that you contribute to this Runnin Rebel program. Those ways are myriad. There are so many different levels and so many different things you do for the program. But if you would, first of all, give folks a sense of your ties to Las Vegas by telling them your background, the big stop being, of course, at Durango High School. But also, let's get into what you do for this Runnin Rebel program. What are the primary responsibilities you have as Director of Basketball Operations?
Thanks, John. I really appreciate those kind words. First of all, I love coming to work every day and getting together with these guys. So we, usually start off the morning with a bunch of laughs and jokes, and then we get to work, and then usually we'll meet up somewhere around lunchtime and get some more laughs and jokes and some more work. And then usually, at the end of the day, we're wrapping up our day with some laughs and jokes. So it's really a fun place to work, and a lot of good things go on here. As far as my responsibilities, there's a lot. Right now, scheduling is probably the primary thing that I'm focused on right now, is just getting the schedule ready and getting it to a point where coach is happy with it, and making sure that we're securing quality games and, home games and road games and multi-team events and all that stuff. So just kind of carrying out his vision of what our schedule will be and kind of tailoring it to our team and what we need. And I enjoy it. I have a lot of fun with that. And, a lot of phone calls, a lot of irons in the fire, and, chasing down a bunch of leads, but it's a lot of fun. Also with my job, I kind of handle a lot of the day-to-day stuff, but I also handle our travel. And so my day kind of looks a lot different every day. No day's the same. And I really enjoy that. I have my hands in a lot of different cookie jars. And I enjoy that. It makes my day go fast, because I'm doing a lot of different things. And then just making sure, keeping a pulse, not only on the players, but the coaches, and make sure that everyone has what they need. And are we moving forward? Are we moving towards what coach's vision is for this program? Are we moving that direction? So try to keep that in mind every day, and whatever it is we're working on. And it could be something as lunch, easy as lunch, or ordering gear, or scheduling games, or trying to figure out how to transition the new players in, but always trying to keep in mind what coach's vision is for this program.
How excited are you for the prospect of not having to deal with all the COVID protocols and all the concerns and handcuffs and whatever else I watched you have to put up with last year?
Yeah, thanks, John. You were often my sounding board. I don't know if we're out the woods just yet with COVID, but hopefully things will be a lot easier, and some of the hoops will go away, so we don't have to jump through that. But, actually, in looking back on it, it was a challenge, but we met that challenge, and being able to play last season was amazing. I mean, there was a point in time, last May or June, sitting on the couch, you didn't know if we were going to have a season. So to have the ability to go out and play and have a season, that was success in itself. So albeit we had all the different testing and protocols and regulations and all that stuff, it was amazing that we were able to overcome those and have a season. So hopefully those restraints will be off this year, and we'll be able to have some type of normalcy. I think some of those protocols will continue and will be adopted as, part of our game now, but I'm looking forward to removing some of those restrictions.
You and I had a lot of time to kind of chill out and visit last year, and toward the end of the season, it became somewhat obvious that there was a potential for a change at the top of the Runnin Rebel program with everything that was going on, and it kind of worked out the way we thought it might. And early on in our conversations, Kevin's name came up, and you were a big proponent of Kevin Kruger taking over the reins at UNLV. What is it about him and your relationship and what you've seen that made you such an optimist and a proponent of having Kevin taken over the head job?
Well, I think you've heard on this call, I mean, just the passion that he has for UNLV, the passion he has for Vegas is unmatched. And so myself, I've been in town here for about 27 years, and I love Las Vegas. I want to call it home forever. I love all the diversity that the city offers, that the university offers, good and bad. And so and working with Coach Kruger and talking to him, you see the passion that he has for Runnin Rebel basketball. And I think Coach Buck mentioned it. It's amazing. And so when he's out there coaching and talking to guys, he's instilling that passion in them. And so that was really fun to watch as a alumni of the school and also, as a resident here.
Well, I know you take a lot of pride in it. As you said, you've been here. I think you and I moved to town about the same time. We've both been here almost 30 years. And I know you're excited for the future of this Runnin Rebel program.
Definitely. So excited. Things are moving in the right direction. Get to hang out with these guys all day. Can't wait till our new players arrive on campus and get to know them and start developing those relationships and getting in the gym.
Real quick questions. When do those new guys get to town? And is there anything you can tell us at all about the schedule for 21-22?
So those new guys will get in town here in early June, getting them all moved in and settled in, get them all accustomed to this heat. I think Coach Chappelle will kind of help them with that. Also with our schedule, we're just about done. It's a really tough competitive schedule. We have Cal at home here, UCLA at home. We have to go on the road to SMU. It's a tough place to play. And then we have a multi-team event at T-Mobile with some high-level teams in there with Arizona, Michigan, and Wichita State. So the schedule is pretty competitive. It's going to be fun. And not to mention, I mean, when we talk about scheduling, everyone wants to know about, preseason or even want to talk about tournaments or even if you're going to schedule any blue bloods. But the Mountain West tournament, the Mountain West conference is very tough. The teams in it are very good. It's very unassuming. And if you don't follow it, you don't understand how competitive and how tough it is. And I think one of those things that you're seeing in the Mountain West is the coaching is at a high level. And so every night you got to bring your hard hat because everyone's prepared for you and whatnot. So I think sometimes when I talk about scheduling, everyone wants to know who we have on the schedule, but we forget often that the conference is pretty tough itself.
I agree with you. And I think, with the opportunity for guys to return for another year this year, there have been some upgrades in the coaching staff at a number of schools. And so I think this coming Mountain West Conference season is going to be a big challenge. Deshaun, always great to see you. I'm sure I'll see you again real soon and look forward to another year with you.
Hey, John, can I segue into something just real quick?
Please, Carly. Please.
What Deshaun was talking about earlier, just in terms of us getting in the office and laughing and, really having a, great time and, just kind of, enjoying each other. A lot of our laughs come at the expense of your next guest. So,
yeah.
So FYI, Will followed me from Oklahoma. So that's a joke in itself right there. So anyways, that's the segue right there.
The face of the district. He calls himself the face of the district.
Wow.
Out of Green Valley. He loves himself the district.
Will, get him off of you. Will, get him off
of
you.
He's the mayor.
The mayor. So Will, I mean, I was gonna play nice, but the door has been open. So what are your favorite places to hang out in the district? And I mean, if we walk down the middle of the district in Green Valley, how many people, would kind of stick their heads out of those stores and, wave and say hi and know your name?
I think that number is at 2 to 3 right now. I think Cammie Kruger might know who I am, Allie Kruger, and I think Coach Kev. I think we're at 3, trying to get a 4th fan out there. But I will take all the food recommendations in the comments you guys have. Right now, Velveeta is pretty high on that list. I love myself some Vegas food so far.
Atta baby. Will Saxon joins us. He is our recruiting and video coordinator. Will, tell us what that entails, recruiting and video coordinator.
That entails, that's a tough following Coach Henry because he just listed off about 25 things he does, and that was the short list. That entails breaking down a lot of film, helping create video scouting reports, and also kind of organizing our recruiting lists and recruiting databases. And probably most importantly, trying to take as much off of our coaches' plates and our student athletes' plates so that they can focus on what they do best. I'd say that's the main thing. So little tasks here and there that help.
Well, and in this day and age, that video side of things is a big deal.
Yes, there are so many different. I mean, the technology aspect in basketball has grown so significantly over the last just few years. So we use, whether it's Synergy, Shot Tracker, Noah, all these different avenues that we can use that help player development, that help prepare scouting, is really big and complicated sometimes. So anytime that we can simplify it for the coaches and the student athletes so that they can work at their best is good.
And simplifying it for some coaches is more important than other coaches.
There's some more simplification for some than others. Yes.
I would anticipate that without naming any names. How excited are you to come to Las Vegas?
I'm so excited to be here. I've been here about 4 weeks. I stayed my first 3 weeks at Hotel Kruger, which was unbelievable. Allie and Cammie and Coach Kev took care of me, and I had the unique experience of being in Oklahoma for 8 years and spent time with Coach Kevin there, Coach Kruger, Coach Shep, the late Coach Hill. Everybody had just unbelievable things to say about this place. Had the unique experience to come out here a couple times, whether it was scrimmages or games, when we were at Oklahoma, and just the few times we'd go out in the community and eat or walk around. I mean, there was just this buzz all the time about this program. So was always excited, interested, loved being out here, loved hearing about it. So definitely excited.
Well, we're excited to have you, and look forward to visiting with you and seeing the fruits of your labors, whether it's helping these guys in the recruiting or the scouting or the player development process, complex or simplified, depending on the target. We'll look forward to working with you. We have some questions and comments from the group that is assembled on this webcast, and want to make sure we get to those before we have to sign off. We have a question from Jake. Kevin, probably directed to you about open practices. I know that was something that your dad took a lot of pride in. It's something that a lot of fans enjoyed. And Jake thinks it's a really underrated opportunity for community outreach. Tell us what you think plans might be, obviously with some caveats about COVID and how it might work, but what are your plans on opening practices?
No, that's a great point. It's absolutely a goal of ours to figure out how to make that work. And as you mentioned, COVID kind of throws a wrench in a lot of that. But we are working with the university with compliance and kind of following the COVID guidelines that are set forth by the state and the university as much as anything, because we would love to have it open and have as many people as we could possibly have in Mendenhall in the summer when we move over to the Thomas and Mack when the floor is down. But here early on, it might be a little more difficult to get people into the gym just because of what's allowed, what's not allowed with with the sanitizing of the gym and the people coming through and what have you. But we are looking at different ways, kind of bouncing ideas off each other and through the university so that we can have people in there, because I think this is a group that's going to be easy to root for, fun to get to know, and the more people that we can get in the facility to meet them and watch them play and just watch how much they love to play basketball would do nothing but just kind of bring the community and the team closer together.
And that leads into our next question perfectly. Thank you for that. And I'll open this up for any of the coaches who want to speak to it. Job number one is going to be bringing in all of these new guys and the guys who have stuck around, the Nick Blakes and Marvin Coleman's and Reese Browns of the world, and bringing all the new guys. And how do you get them best? And as I said, this is for anybody. How do you get them best to quickly integrate and try to bring some cohesion to that group so that they can become a team and do the things that Coach Buckley mentioned when we were chatting with him about bringing them together? How do you do that so you make that as efficient and as quick a process as possible?
I'll give Coach Kruger a break here, and then he can interject if he wants. I think the biggest thing is just being around them as much as possible this summer, like them seeing our faces, as much as we possibly can. Now we get 4 hours with them on the court to be able to work with them, individually and also as a team and as a group. But the biggest thing is just going to be just them, constantly being around us, and talking about, our vision, talking about, you know, the upcoming season, talking about, you know, whatever things that they have going on, just them being as comfortable with us and with each other as possible. That's why it's so great now, you know, in the summer times that, you know, we can work out with these guys, and they extended it from 2 hours to 4 hours a couple years back. And with the group that we have coming in, we talked about, you know, throughout the course of this Zoom is, you know, they're all going to be in new roles for the most part. The 4 guys we got coming in from the Big 12, you know, Jordan McCabe had success early on in terms of as a starter. And then these last couple of years, he's played a different role, but they've still won and they've had success. Same thing with the 2 young men we got coming from Texas, Donovan Williams and Royce Ham. You know, they played bits and pieces of time at Texas, you know, but they didn't have long stretches. Royce had a little bit of a long stretch his junior year when other guys were out. Donovan had that this year with COVID, but they're all going to be in new roles, same as Victor Iroquois and the other 4 guys. You know, they'll take a step up in levels and so forth. So getting them around each other, you know, as much as possible. As Coach Kruger said before, and just as we talked in meetings, playing a lot, you know, just a lot of 5-on-5, a lot of, you know, 3-on-3, 2-on-2, building up and so forth. So just constantly just us being around them off the court, you know, them coming in our office, and also being on the floor and playing.
Anybody else have anything to add on that? If not,
Well
we'll move on. Thank you very much, Coach Hartman. Before we end this brief visit, I want to remind you that if you're interested in any new Runnin Rebel swag, you can go to unlvgear.com. Great items, including the latest from Nike. And if you're a season ticket holder, you get 20% off. So that's unlvgear.com. Reminding you, if you want to become a season ticket holder, go to unlvtickets.com or call 702-739-FANS, 702-739-FANS. Get your season tickets. This is a tremendous group that is leading this Runnin Rebel program, headed by head coach Kevin Kruger. And I think that the direction, the future, and the momentum is building. It is building in the right direction. I think that the last hour has shown the quality of the individuals. Congratulations, Kevin, on putting together such a terrific staff. Welcome to those of you again who are new. Welcome back to those of you who are coming back. It's great to have all of you with us. Kevin, I will pass along a message from Rod Levitt, who's a good friend, who says Wade would be happy.
No, I appreciate that.
But we are so excited for this Runnin Rebel program going forward. We are so excited for seeing the new and exciting things that are going on with this Runnin Rebel program. I want to tell the fans that we are planning to have some events and some opportunities to get to know some of these new Runnin Rebels, to reintroduce the guys who are still here. And those will be coming up between now and the beginning of the season. But a lot of communication, a lot of stuff that I'll be involved in, and we'll make sure you're fully aware of what's going on with this Runnin Rebel program. I want to remind you also that our last winner, Michael Ross, wins the signed UNLV Runnin Rebel jersey. And Michael, you'll be contacted by sports marketing to receive your prize. I want to thank all of you for participating. It's been a lot of fun, and I think very informative for the fans. And we'll get a chance to talk down the road. More Runnin Rebel Caravan events and Rebel Caravan events coming up over the next couple of weeks. But guys, appreciate it. Appreciate you devoting your lunchtime to us. Have a great rest of your Friday and a great weekend. And thanks to all of you who've tuned in to listen. Hope you've enjoyed it. And we will talk to you very, very soon. Go Rebels.